Welcome to the story of immortality. You're about to enter a magical world. We invite you to savor the feeling of peace, love, and wisdom as it opens your eyes to your true self, to reality itself. The sessions are designed to uplift you as you access the subtle, eternal spiritual universe that moves within this physical world. To take maximum benefit from this series, we recommend the following important tips. Sit in a quiet place where you can be alone for an hour. We ask you to take this time out and be with yourself with no distractions. Sit with your spine straight, either in a comfortable chair or on the floor. This will ensure that the energy flowing in your body will support what you're hearing. Keep your phones in silent mode and away from you in another room for the whole hour. We encourage you to keep your camera on. Our experience has taught us that other participants will be inspired to see you. We will record these sessions. Only the speakers and not the participants will be recorded. 5 languages are available for translation. To select a language, click on the interpretation button, and then you can opt for Hindi, Spanish, French, Telugu, or Tamil by clicking on one of them. This is our registration link. It is not mandatory, but if you would like to receive the recordings and other information, then do register.
Om Shanti. Welcome to the story of immortality, presented by Brahma Kumaris. So today we have reached to our episode 16. Congratulations. So this is a very interesting Raj Yoga, the study and practice. So now let's see the flow for today's program, and then our angel, Sister Shireen, will be with us, and she will introduce us today's guest speaker. Om Shanti.
This program, The Story of Immortality, will enlighten you through insights, visuals, and meditations. We will begin soon with 15 minutes of sharing with a senior teacher. Then Sister Shireen or Sister Dorothy will make a 30-minute presentation, interspaced with 2 meditations that unwrap the book. Lastly, we will address questions from participants for 10 minutes. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Story of Immortality. Like Sister Bhumi was sharing, today is going to be a very interesting topic, and we have a wonderful guest speaker, Sister Kiran from Eugene. There she is. Welcome, Sister Kiran. So Sister Kiran has been practicing the teachings of the Brahma Kumaris for over 40 years. Am I right, Kiran, on that? Yes, good. She is really senior. And she has mostly been based in the West Coast of the United States and sometimes in Canada. When I first met Sister Kiran, she was based in Vancouver. And then now in Eugene, Oregon. She has many wonderful talents. and let her unwrap these talents for us. So tell us about yourself, Sister Kiran. What have you been doing? Where are you? You're in Peace Village.
I'm in Peace Village right now, and thank you very much for this opportunity to be with you all. I started in San Francisco in 1979 and moved to Canada in 93, and then back to the States just after 9/11 in 2001, back to Oregon, and I've been there ever since.
Wonderful, wonderful. So today we will be talking about Raj Yoga. When in 1979, what was the mood like in San Francisco? Were you part of the hippie revolution there?
Not really. I was in Montana, and I had come to the Bay Area to study holistic health, which at that time was very new. And so my interest was always in integrating things, body, mind, and spirit, and having a holistic view of reality and self-actualization. You might remember Abraham Maslow's approach to things was the self-actualized being. So that was kind of my motivating force for being there.
Right. So when you got introduced to the teachings of the Brahma Kumaris, what was your take on Raj Yoga? What did you feel about it?
Well, I went to the center for the very first time to interview the sisters because I was working at that point on a master's thesis in holistic health. And I was trying to answer the question, what is spiritual health? Because we knew about physical health, how to assess that, and how to assess mental and psychological health. But how do you know if someone is spiritually healthy? So I went to the center with that question in mind. But I think for the first part of my spiritual life on this path of Raj Yoga, I was more tuned into the subtle vibrations, the powerful atmosphere at the center, and the teachings. It was quite foreign to me. A lot of it was Hindi based, and the Indian culture I knew nothing about. So it was all kind of a mystique, but the atmosphere, the vibrations, the aim of it all seemed so wonderful that it just captured me.
So when you first started, did you feel you were studying something, that you were practicing something? Like, you were learning to be practicing holistic health. Did you feel you were practicing something, or did you just think, oh, this is nice, let me come along?
I think it was more of just really trying to understand what it was all about, because in those days, we didn't have the kind of courses and lectures, and everything now is much more refined, simplified. There's step-by-step processes to introduce people to the concepts of Raj Yoga, but you were kind of just thrown into the swimming pool and you were learning to swim. And that's kind of how it felt for a while.
So you were talking about self-actualization. And honestly, I really don't know much about whoever that person was you were talking about. Sorry. What is the difference? What did you find the difference between self-actualization and self-realization?
Well, I think the idea behind those teachings was to get in touch with, subconscious levels of being, and also your capacity to be more than limited ideas of yourself, and to higher aims, to try to bring all aspects of your being together. And I found Raj Yoga to be more the same in a way, but much more well-defined.
It's about the soul and not just, right.
Right. And very clear and specific. Once I started to understand the knowledge, that's taught in Raj Yoga. And also, I was very much captivated by the idea of self-sovereignty or self-mastery that Raj Yoga promised. And it's a big promise to get your mind under control, to get your emotions into stability, and to have an elevated awareness all the time, and to be able to use that in an effective way in the world. So these are all things that just fascinated me.
Right. And so you were talking about that once you started understanding what it was, what was your first understanding? What is it that you realized first?
Well, I think the first realization was that this has to be God. this has to be the source of all of this, has to be God, because I had not experienced anything in my human life up to that point that came close to giving me the experience of divinity and of an elevated way of being in the world. I mean, people talked about lofty things, but you didn't see it in practical anywhere, and you didn't feel it either. And here you saw it and you felt it, and then you understood what it was. It's kind of like
right. It's interesting you're saying that, coming from San Francisco, that you were in San Francisco, you were in the heart of where everything was possible and people were so, upbeat about things. They were in a revolution and they were doing a revolution, and all of that, cultural revolution kind of was going on at that point. And you felt that it didn't have much substance. That's very interesting to note that. So how would you define Raj Yoga?
Well, okay. I was just on the track of what you were saying, and I was remembering, if I can just insert that.
Yes. Go back. Sure.
I was remembering that one of my teachers in the Holistic Life University, which doesn't exist anymore, he was an activist, and he was realizing that he was out there actively demonstrating for peace and was feeling completely the opposite. He was feeling a lot of anger and so forth. And that was one of the things that always stuck with me, that that's not the way to achieve peace in the world. And so I think what appealed to me about Raj Yoga, or what I understood when it first started to make sense to me, was that it was about bringing a different awareness to the world, but through very, not through an activist way, but through self-change, through self-transformation, and through individuals elevating their consciousness and changing the way they related to the world and were able to bring benefit to the world. And that made a whole lot more sense to me.
Right. Like, you're right. Spiritual activism is so different from physical activism. I feel that what you're saying is about peace, and that he didn't experience peace at that. And what you subsequently said is that for spiritual activism, you really need to experience it. And to be able to be an activist, you can't just, talk about peace, but you really have to experience it. So what was the first experience you had?
Oh my. Well, in the beginning in San Francisco, the center there was very tiny. It was a little 1-bedroom apartment, and it was over an auto body shop, if you can imagine. And so there were these paint fumes constantly coming up through the floorboards, and there was the Colonel Sanders across the street. And if the window was open, you'd get those odors. And yet the atmosphere of that space was so silent and so pure and so light. And I can still remember that feeling of just a lightness of feeling just beyond the whole rest of the world, what was going on outside. This place was beyond it. And so that was my first experience. I didn't really understand anything, but a little bell went off in my head. Yeah.
I do want to stop here for
a little bell went off that just said, this is it.
Little bell went off. Okay. So I want to stop here and double click on what you're saying, because especially for our participants, because they are doing it on Zoom, that yes, Zoom really helps, but you cannot replace physical centers.
Right.
And so wherever you are in the world, go to your nearest center, because the vibrations of that place really transform, like Sister Kiran is sharing. So now go ahead, Sister Kiran.
Well, yeah, I forgot what question I was answering. That was
okay, I'll ask you another question. Don't worry about that question. I do want you to talk to us about Raj Yoga. How would you define Raj Yoga? Why do we call what the Brahma Kumaris is teaching Raj Yoga? The story of immortality really is called Raj Yoga, right? So why Raj Yoga?
Well, of course, literally it means, Raja means king, and yoga means connection. So it's really about the ultimate connection, the connection, first of all, with yourself and being able to master yourself, which was very much what I wanted to do. And then secondly, it's not only the connection with yourself, but it's the connection with God, the highest, and being able to actually experience a connection. I was raised in Christianity, and you can say a lot of nice things about it, but it wasn't giving me a feeling of a good relationship with God. It was more of a, you better do the right thing or else you'll be punished kind of relationship, which on the one hand, they're saying God is love, but on the other hand, it's a very almost transactional relationship that you have to do something to win God's love. And Raj Yoga said, no, you belong to God and God loves you. And the sign of God's love is that he's going to help you master yourself and become the king of yourself. And then thirdly, it's about how you benefit the rest of the world, how you understand what the world is all about and where it's going and what you're doing in it and why God is even a part of it. You know, it's all that very comprehensive understanding. And that to me is Raj Yoga, the ultimate kind of knowledge of the whole, the holistic, most holistic view of reality that you can possibly have.
Right. It is a worldview, isn't it? And the worldview that God gives us is so profound and so transformative. It does transform. One last question. We have about 2 minutes left, so you can take some time to answer this. When you started practicing Raj Yoga, how long did it take you before you started experiencing the practice? Like, let's say you started practicing I'm a soul. How long did it take you to experience a soul? When you started practicing remembering God, how long did it take you to experience God?
Okay.
Well, or any of the other concepts.
Yeah. I think it's not a straight line process where you experience yourself as a soul and then that's it, you've got it. Or you experience God and then that's it, you know, end of story. It's more like you get an insight that I'm a soul, I'm not this body. And you feel differently, your perspective starts to change. And then you get another layer of understanding of what it means to be detached from the body when you're doing things, when you're in action, when you're in communication. And then there's another level beyond that where you're just able to be still in silence and be just a soul. So there's all these different stages of everything. The same with the connection with God. At first, it's like like you're a baby, like a little child. You recognize your parents by their vibration, right? But you don't know what kind of importance your father has in the world or anything like that. And so as you grow up, gradually you learn what your parents' occupation is, you learn what their role in society is. And so as you go along in the path of Raj Yoga, your relationship with God keeps changing and deepening. And I'm still discovering more and more deeper, more refined aspects of soul awareness and also of relationship with God. So it's kind of you don't just get it.
A lifelong study.
It is. And it's a wonderful
lifelong practice.
Yes.
Well,
yeah. But it's so wonderful of a practice that you don't feel like letting go of it because there's always new and interesting things to learn.
Thank you so much, Sister Kiran, for being with us. And thank you for bringing your vast experience in this field for us. We appreciate it. And now we will have Sister Dorothy.
Thank you.
Shanti. So Sister Dorothy, there is Sister Dorothy. Sister Dorothy will delve deeply into the practice and study of Raj Yoga. Take it away, Sister Dorothy.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Sister Shireen. And it's so nice to see all of you who have returned for the 9th week in this school. But I'm going to ask you a question before we start our slideshow. And that is, what kind of a school do you think this is? If you could have one definition, one word, a school for what? Just keep that in your mind. And then I will start to share screen with you, and we will find out what kind of school this is. And then you can let us know if you were correct or if you were correct. All right, I think we're good. So let us start the show. Yes, welcome. You have come to a school for souls. Yes, probably we kind of knew that, but to define it totally, this school is not for human beings, it's for souls and the cultivation of the soul, not just for this one birth, but many births. And the only time that we have this school is when God comes. And He alone is the only one who can open a school for souls. And so we could say this is God's university, where everyone on this planet can come and become an elevated human being, no matter what size you are, what culture you come from. And this is a picture that just got on the screen, and that's our headquarters in India, in Rajasthan. I thought we would show that today. So you can see this school goes into 130 different countries. And it's the only school in which the Supreme Teacher is the Supreme Soul. And He's come to awaken your memory. Your memory of what? Well, the memory of who you really are, the true you, the eternal you, and who He is. And then again, the whole world drama. As Sister Kiran was saying, the drama, like, why is this happening all around us? What is happening? And where are we going? So there are 4 main subjects in this school on this spiritual journey. And I kind of want you to pay attention to this. The 4 main subjects: knowledge, yoga, dharana, and service. So knowledge, we understand. You've been getting a lot of knowledge the last weeks. And yoga too, you've been practicing your yoga diligently when you're online and hopefully when you're offline. Now, dharna might be a word that some of you are not accustomed to, but the word dharna means inculcation in life. So this knowledge is pleasing to hear, but it's absolutely superb and makes your life superb. When you inculcate this knowledge, when you become this knowledge, when you live by this knowledge. And then the last category is service. And if you look at the first letter of each word, you'll see the acronym KYDS. So who are we? Well, we're children of God. Or you could say we're God's kids. And so I'd like you to remember these 4 main subjects because each one of them is very important. The knowledge is important because with the knowledge, we understand the self, and then we really begin to experience the self on a deep level. As Sister Karen was saying, it's a progression, this relationship with the self, and also the relationship with God, or what we could say, the secrets of the Creator. And we do that through yoga. And so the more yoga we have, yoga just means remembering, the more yoga we have, the more we begin to feel Him and understand Him and even become closer to Him. And so then there's the creation, understanding the creation. And now when we begin to understand what we're becoming in this creation, this new creation, our dharna begins to change. Our actions begin to change. We begin to be different. And so we can see a whole new world coming. So this Raja Yoga is for the whole world, this whole planet. And when I say the whole world, I mean even the animals, because as we change, the animals change too. And you can pass with honors if you claim these 3 certificates. The first certificate is that of the self. So not just learning who you are, but experiencing soul consciousness, something we've talked a lot about the last few months. Understanding yourself means experiencing yourself as the soul, separate from the covering of the soul or the body that carries us around. The next certificate is of the world, and the more understanding we have, the more we naturally contribute to the vibrations of our planet, our world. And the last certificate, which we all have, because as Karen was saying, God loves everyone and we all belong to Him. So He automatically accepts everyone. So what is our objective of Raja Yoga? As you can see, it is to become elevated. Elevated and help others also to become elevated. And you can just see the contentment in the face on the screen. Someone who is filled with contentment, peace, confidence, and just the sense of well-being. And so we are becoming, you are becoming these elevated beings. And so awakening, what are we awakening? The awareness of our true self, the most elevated self that we naturally are. And awakening the awareness of our Father, not just that there's a God, but God is my Father. and I can come and sit in his heart, and he can come and sit in my heart, and I can have relationship with him. And of course, the last subject would be the drama. What is happening all around us? Not to forget that this is a drama. It is just a play. And so take it serious, but don't take it too serious, understanding that it is a drama. We're souls and we are eternal. And so knowledge is received in order, the main reason is to know yourself and to understand this pilgrimage of yoga. Now, this is very important. So please listen. The pilgrimage of yoga means the pilgrimage of remembrance. Let's stop here for a minute. I would like you all to go to your kitchen now in your mind. I don't really want you to leave the Zoom. I want you to go to your kitchen, picture the refrigerator, and open it. That's how easy yoga is. You just had yoga with your refrigerator and what's in the refrigerator. And so remembrance of God is the same way. And that's why the knowledge of where he is, up beyond this world, beyond, up and above this physical dimension, and what he is, a point of light, a soul, the supreme soul. And we are souls too. And so he's just like us, no bigger, no smaller. And so this pilgrimage of remembrance is the pilgrimage of just being with him, with the one. And this is a very subtle aspect because it's through the power of your mind and the power of your intellect that you connect with that one. And then you begin to take the essence, the purity of who that one is. And so as you see, the more we delve into the knowledge and the yoga, the character of who we are begins to change. And the character of a person can be seen from what that person does and what that person studies. And what are we studying? Well, this is a school for souls, and it's a study in which our characters are being subtly molded by the knowledge we're hearing, and as we keep pursuing the knowledge, but it's also through this yoga, this remembrance that we have of being with our subtle Father. And why do we want to have this divine character? Because we're moving into this divine kingdom in heaven. And this is what heaven is looking like. Yes, not where just the king and the queen dress lavishly and live in perfection and excellence. The whole kingdom, the kingdom of heaven. So I'd like you to think about that. And so he tells us, God tells us, Baba tells us, it is my direction to you to be in union with me, because this is where he transmits everything he has to us. It's very subtle. It's not like fireworks. And so, and he awakens through this yoga our memory, the memory of having relationship with him. And so yoga means just remembering him. And so as we sit in yoga, we begin to experience his qualities, which is the ocean of purity, the ocean of peace and bliss, wisdom, wisdom is something you don't get from outside books. It's something that flourishes from a pure, clear, and powerful intellect. And so, the most elevated place from where we can see clearly is that place when we are with the divine. And so now we're going to have a meditation. Remembering who you are. You are the soul within the body. And within the soul is a memory of your true divinity. And as we become more and more soul conscious, the more we experience our innate divinity. So think about yourself in that awareness of being the soul in that space between your eyes, but allow your awareness to rise above your body and just image or imagine your body sitting down there. You see, the mind and the intellect has no boundary. We can go anywhere and experience anything in a second because the soul is non-physical. And so take your mind to the one that's far beyond this world, the world of matter, a place where we all came from. And touch that one with your mind. And as your thoughts reach out to the one, he will receive those vibrations. And a connection happens. And then there is an energy that flows back into you of that pure, divine energy, that purity from the Supreme Father, the Father of all souls. And open yourself. Imagine, yes, imagine this energy flowing into you, cleansing you. Cleaning you and filling you with wisdom, filling you with divinity. Your eternal Father, eternal Mother, wants the best for you. And this umbilical cord that we have created, making the connection, allows that energy to be your energy. So coming back to the center of your forehead again, and to your body, but just sit with those vibrations. Om Shanti. Okay, so now let's go on. Oops, let me see what we could do here to change this. All right. Let me just get back here and start again on this. Seems like I've lost my glasses somewhere. There they are. So I hope you all liked this meditation.
Yes, we did, Sister Dorothy.
Okay,
The
very
visuals
good.
were very beautiful.
All right, now I'm not, there we go. Can you see? You can't see it, can you? What's happening? Okay,
We can see you.
yeah. Let's try this again. Oh dear. Okay, let me just screen share one more time. And we are on number 2. Okay, we're going to get it together now. There we go. It just takes a little time sometimes. Okay, let's move on. And so we talked about the 4 subjects, and the 4 subjects are very important. So we're just going to go and put them up again. So I'd like you to remember this as you go on, that we're God's children, or we could say God's kids. And so knowledge, yoga, dharana, and service. So the next, we've covered knowledge and yoga a lot, but let's talk about dharana, or inculcation. You see, this life of ours is a life of forgetting and remembering. How many times have you forgotten where your phone is? I am sure all of us have forgotten where we put our phone or our keys. But this knowledge is something that we have to really keep focused on where we're going, because we want our ship to sail to the other side of the shore. We want to be successful, right? We want to become what we're here for. This is the school of souls. And so we have to keep focused. So it's time to awaken our memory. And the best time to awaken our memory is in the early morning hours. And I was thinking how many times we get up and we go to the restroom and wash our bodies and we do everything we have to do. We get dressed and then we eat. And all of that was for the body. But what have we done for you, the soul? And so think about that very deeply, that every morning there could be time when you nurture yourself, the beautiful you that's hidden under that body. But it's not only then that you can remember, you can have remembrance or yoga while you're walking around, moving around, even when you're eating. Do you know when I like to have yoga? When I'm driving and I'm alone in the car. I just like to go with my companion. It's such a wonderful feeling being in the cubicle of your car in the first place just seems to advance that. And so just as gold is melted over fire and alloy is taken away and only pure gold remains, in the same way, through the fire of God's love and remembering the one, you become pure. We all become pure, no matter where you are. And I love this picture. This picture shows us that you really have to reach out to that one. Be proactive. Change your dharana or your actions, and your character will automatically become so divine. Divine for the future scenes that we're going to face. So as we have yoga, he wills powers to us, virtues to us. But that doesn't happen by wishful thinking. We have to make the connection. We have to make the effort. And that effort will give us that life of liberation, or what we may call heaven, or the golden aged sanskars. So with the practice of Raj Yoga, we also see other beings as eternal spiritual beings, not the bodies. And this is a good time to remember that we're all actors. And so not only seeing them as spiritual beings, but also that they're playing their part accurately, whatever their part may be. You see, our minds have become enslaved by the outer world, the world of matter, and we've been pulled away or drawn away from our elevated place of being. So many distractions of movies and music and things we can buy and things we can sell and entertainment. Let's go to Disney World, and those things are okay. But don't forget yourself. So we first lost our inner wealth and then our physical wealth. And so now it's time to regain our inner treasures and also the kingdom that goes with those inner treasures. And so actions are a reflection in the outer world of the quality of our awareness that you have within yourself. And so it's all about changing yourself, the inward part of you, the eternal self. So you have a choice here in this picture you see on the screen. Where do you want to put your awareness and draw your line of fortune? In the old world or the new world? The practical fruit of this knowledge is your transformation. That's the practical proof. When you go to school, you have to learn. And so this is the school for souls, and it's soul transformation. So being powerful is to imbibe this knowledge. not just sit in front of the Zoom screen, but practice and becoming, being the embodiment of what we know. Because you see, it's time to return to our home. And as a loving parent, God, Baba, the Father, holds our hand, not a physical hand, of course, but the hand of our intellect. And He takes us home because soon it will be time for all of us to return to the home. So we are going to now have another meditation. And so just think about yourself as you see this picture on the screen. That's you, the soul, and allowing yourself, invoking the energy of the Supreme, opening your mind, your intellect, invoking, inviting, imaging, imagining this divine energy flowing into you. Filling you, nurturing, loving you, caring for you. Showing your own divinity, your own excellence. As you begin to shine and sparkle, and just be with the one. So simple. Connecting, filling, and then radiating. This in itself is serving our world. You begin to feel so light, as if you are above the world of matter. Sending love, embracing the world, the whole planet, every country, every language, all souls. And the more we give, the brighter we become. Feel the peace and the divinity that you have accrued through your own efforts connecting with the one. But yoga doesn't stop here. Meditation doesn't stop here. Glimpses through the day. Remembering. This game of remembering and forgetting. Remembering. Remembering the one. Whatever actions you do today, remember the one. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much, Sister Dorothy. That was really, really good. I love your graphics.
Thank you, Shireen, sis. I love yours too.
We have not had questions. So anyone has any questions, do send it to us and we will address it. And while we are addressing questions, I want to ask Sister Dorothy some personal questions.
Personal?
Nothing too personal. No personal, I mean your story of when you came.
Okay.
So, huh?
Good.
So tell me about when you came. Did you know what this was called Raj Yoga? Did you know what was happening? What was your take on things?
I didn't know anything, but the only thing I knew is that something felt wonderful. Something felt so good. And I was going by feelings for me. And I was studying. I studied the knowledge. You know, I got the books and I kept pursuing. But I just felt so different. So for me, it was more experiential than intellectual, though it wasn't that the intellect was non-existent, but it was just that I just felt so different and my life started to change.
Great. So you didn't know, oh, the teachings were called Raj Yoga, or you had to do all of this study or any of that stuff. But you were
No.
always interested in study, right? You were always interested in studying.
I was always interested in the unknown study. Okay. I was interested in knowing truth. That was my main thing. And I came to the Raja Yoga Center firstly just to know the truth. And I had studied different gurus, many gurus, trying to find the truth. And I never, ever would have imagined that I stumbled across God. I wasn't looking for God. I thought God was something that you would find after you left the body.
Right.
This age is the only age in which he appears.
Right, right. So I do have one thing. I'll come back to it after I read this for you. This knowledge has changed the way we think and shows how we have control of our mind and thoughts. However, sometimes it is difficult to remain stable when people we live with become irritated due to other people's behaviors, such as the way other people drive. You try to apply the knowledge for yourself and not let other people's behavior get to you, and tell your family members not to get irritated by other people's behavior, but they get more irritated. How can we remain stable in those kinds of simple situations, and how can we encourage our family members to apply this knowledge, as this knowledge will benefit them in life and will give them peace of mind?
I think that it's an excellent question. I think the biggest teacher is not to tell the driver of the car they shouldn't get upset because someone cut you off, but just to be peaceful, just to be that image. Again, to have the dharna, the actions, the character that changes others. People don't want to be corrected. We don't want to be corrected. But if I'm driving and someone sitting next to me is so peaceful and smiles back at me, it's going to make me more peaceful. And so we have to be stable. These things are always going to come in front of us, but they have to, because we are becoming the hero actors. And so heroes always have to have these things happening to them to become a hero, to become stronger.
So one of the translators thought that I read too fast. And so because it was such a long question, I was going through it. The question was, how can we remain stable in simple situations, and how can we encourage our family members to apply this knowledge, as this knowledge will benefit them in life and will give them peace of mind?
Okay, I think I answered it, but I'd like to add maybe another little something to that. And as we know that this is a drama and we're all actors and actresses, and so to remember that at that time, oh, look at the way my husband is acting now. That's very interesting. And you know what? I'm going to give him an extra dose of love, an extra dose of peace, because that's what he needs now. And certainly that's what I need to maintain stability.
Right. You're right. No one wants to hear it. Especially when someone is angry, you don't want to hear, don't get angry.
They can't, right, Shireen?
Right. They cannot. There's research, right, that says that when you're really upset, that your IQ points go down like 20 or 30. And so you're not processing. And it's like putting fuel on fire if you say don't get angry at that point.
And you also lose your physical strength. You can do a muscle test on yourself. You lose your physical strength.
Yeah, totally. Yes. Why is it that some people, this is another question, and I will talk very slow. Why is it that some people consider remaining peaceful and tolerant of other people's negative behaviors as a sign of weakness?
Well, some people will experience that, but that doesn't matter. This is a topsy-turvy world that we live in, and everything is kind of mixed up. Remember, this is Kali Yuga, or hell. So everything that is wrong seems right, and everything that is right seems wrong. That's why we have to keep ourselves focused on where we're going and keeping our ship, straight, so it goes to the shore of goodness, and just not be worried about other people.
Right. So that was the last question. You could give us a blessing, or you could tell us one last tidbit of information you would like to share about Raj Yoga.
Well, Raj Yoga. Yes?
I said, oh, you could do both.
So Raj Yoga has really transformed my life. After studying so many different types of yoga, I'm not to say that this is the right yoga for everyone or path for everyone, but all of you who are still with us, and there's over 80 of you out there, thank God you're here. And just keep pursuing and learning and practicing. And I think Rupali does have the blessings now. Sister Rupali. So this is the blessing in God's heart. In the quiet of the night, I whispered into your soul, should be soul, be mine, and you awakened, belonging to me, and I to you. And so this is what it's about. God's whispering to us. It's a very subtle life. It's a very subtle journey, but just keep making the efforts and you will get the rewards. Om Shanti. Thank you, Sister Shireen.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being with us. So we will end with a moment of silence. And just remember, we don't have a session tomorrow. It's going to be next Saturday. We will see you. And so we'll end with a moment of silence, and you will see after the moment of silence, we'll come back. So thank you for joining with us. If you want to see any of our previous episodes, go to our YouTube channel and you can send us an email if anything doesn't work, and we will email you. And our national Brahmakumaris website is brahmakumaris.us. Thank you again. Om Shanti.